I'm Mark Dolan, and this is Headliners, your first look at tomorrow's papers. Tonight, in the company of the wonderful comedians, two good friends of mine. Well, no, actually, Sajila Kirshi, a good friend of mine, and Josh is a colleague. He's on the payroll, basically, an acquaintance, if you like, a necessary evil. Let's have a look at tomorrow's front pages, and we'll start with the Telegraph. And, of course, understandably, they are leading with Together for Granny, the most wonderful photograph of William and Harry, Eugenie, Beatrice and other royal cousins paying their last respects to the late, great Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. Independent next, vigil of the grandchildren. Prince Harry was allowed to wear his military uniform as he joined his brother and cousins for reflection. Also, a bit of politics. Truss' approach to climate crisis beggars belief, say The Independent. Liz Truss's energy plans show that the UK has effectively abandoned net zero targets just 3 years after its world-leading commitment to cutting emissions. This according to the government's former chief scientific advisor, Sir David King. The Observer next. United in sorrow, grandchildren join vigil for Queen Elizabeth. And Truss faces bruising return to political fray after funeral. No sugar Sherlock. The Sunday Times, who I think win the battle of the front pages, simply with a photograph and one word, farewell. And there is the Prince of Wales, of course, Harry, Charles, oh my goodness, too many royals now. The Prince of Wales, William. And he's paying respect to a woman of whom he was so fond and was such an important figure in his life, Queen Elizabeth II. A very sombre and moving and very, very symmetrical photograph there in Westminster Hall. Sunday Express. Honour our Queen with ER Day. A major campaign is underway to enshrine the memory of Queen Elizabeth II with a dedicated day in the national calendar. Sunday Mirror. Granny's Guard of Honour. Grandchildren pay tribute to Queen in silent vigil. And Daily Star Sunday, Brothers in Arms for Gran and spies set for official alien revelations. The truth will soon be out there. Secret agents try to insert details about aliens and UFOs into a TV sci-fi series to ready the world for an official revelation about life from outer space. This according to a Hollywood producer probably with a film to sell. And those are your front pages. Let's start with The Observer, and the people queuing to see the Queen had something of a treat. Josh, tell us more.
Yes, so hundreds of people waiting at Lambeth suddenly looked up and there...
Which, by the way, is a challenge.
Yeah, I know. It's like you've got very little to see. That, of all the part of the route, that's probably... I'm surprised that they're still around, you know, didn't get mugged or anything. Slightly dodgy area. But they looked up and there's King Charles and Prince William, and they came out and had a chat with everybody and did the old selfies and did the handshaking, and it's great. I think it's a really lovely surprise.
It is a lovely surprise, and it's been the flavour of our new King's approach to reach out to the public directly. I mean, the Queen was very warm as well, but Charles has been tactile, hasn't he? You know, hugging, shaking hands. He's been kissed a couple of times.
Kissed a couple of times. In fact, it brought back memories of when he was younger and he used to get, like, wherever he went over the world, I think when he was still a bachelor, like, women would just grab him and kiss him. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's a bit the old Charles back. And then we lost him for a little bit.
I had that when I was doing Balls of Steel.
Did you?
No,
like, strangers. Yeah, you had a big fan base, didn't you?
Yeah, and several people cried after meeting him.
Yeah.
And also, but also Prince William was very popular. And someone said to him, one woman told him, "You'll be a brilliant king one day." And I hope King Charles didn't overhear that. It's like, give me a chance, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I know, he's already got him breathing down his shoulder. I mean, you do wonder, don't you, about that? I think, you know, that King Charles has got the tone pitch perfect so far. I can even forgive the pen drama. I think it showed he's human.
I love the pen drama.
Well, that's it. I know. Well, I don't mind if the king's a bit diva-ish because he's the king.
Yeah.
That's your job, isn't it?
Exactly. And I think that was actually in tune, because I know you did a great impression the other day.
Well, there were two pen incidents, is the thing. The second pen incident I thought was actually quite funny. I think he was like joking, all the stuff about these bloody pens and whatever. That was great. It was more when he was just kind of like, did someone come and take this pen away from me? How dare, like he couldn't do it himself.
Oh,
that
yeah,
was the bit.
when he wouldn't move the thing.
Yeah,
but that's down to, like, his son gave the game away years ago when he was young. He said, Papa, or whatever he called him then, doesn't do anything for himself. He has everything done for him, and everyone laughed, but he'd inadvertently, as a child, had kind of given away that Charles doesn't do anything for himself. But he's a king. He's a king.
The thing is that he's certainly not lazy. It's not like, I can't be bothered. It's not like CBA. Do you know what CBA is?
No.
It's what my son uses, that expression. It's what the youngsters say.
You're so down with the kids.
CBA. You understand?
No, I know.
Can't be asked.
Ooh,
now,
naughty.
That is not actually Charles's issue. He's a workaholic. Did you know that after he's dined in the evening, he goes back to his papers into the early hours of the morning? He's got a grueling schedule. He's very committed. But I think that he doesn't like the optics that either as Prince of Wales or especially as King, that he's got to sort out the stationery on the table and tidy things up. He thinks it doesn't look good because he's a professional and he's a perfectionist. So that's why I think it's okay.
I agree. And that table was really badly set up.
Imagine if he just turned up with a can of Mr. Sheen and a dusting cloth.
Yeah.
You know what he should do? He should also watch GBNews headliners. He just needs the hour, and then he's got all the newspapers all sorted. He's up to date with everything.
That would help
in
him.
the world.
He could see what he looks like. It's like a reflection. It's like, oh my God, is that how I come?
I hope he wouldn't be offended. He'd be offended. I would be in the tower straight away.
Is there a danger, Sajila, that if the Prince of Wales, William, is too popular, that King Charles will be a little jealous?
I don't actually know, because I don't know him. I don't know if that would be the
But you're a comedian. You know what comedians are like.
Yeah,
When you see somebody
there's a lot of things I've had to hold back, not saying.
Over the years, you watch these comedians who are bang average suddenly appearing on television. You're like, wait a minute.
Oh, OK.
Do you think Charles might have a bit of that?
By the way, that's who he is.
Wow, how did that happen? Yeah. Clerical error by the looks of it.
Yeah, well,
I mean, do you think Charles is competitive in that way or not?
I don't know. There's a story later on which I suspected was to do with about not taking the attention away from him, but I know we're going to get to that later. And also Pengate, the trilogy, that's also coming out.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. Listen, if that doesn't keep the viewers watching, nothing will. How about...
Nothing will. See you later, guys.
Well, listen, last night you almost stripped on the show.
Yes.
So
Today I tucked my shirt in. I got a lot of grief online for having my shirt out. So
I've got no doubt viewers will stay until midnight to find out what your next stunt will be.
Oh, yeah.
Provocateur that you are.
Indeed.
Let's talk about the Sunday Mirror, Sajila, and it is the Penn story.
This is Pengate, the trilogy. So a cheeky fan, when Charles was meeting, and I do think it's lovely that they're meeting the public. I think it's great. This is a story in the Mirror, by the way. And when he was meeting a woman came up and basically gave him a biro. Which obviously just went, what is this? What is a biro?
Does not
because obviously, as we know, royalty write with swan quills, don't they? That's because they're royal family.
Was it a biro, by the way, that had been chewed at the top?
Probably, yeah. And probably, she probably picked her ears and stuff with it as well. Sorry, lady, if you're watching. I didn't mean that. So, she hands it over. She goes, just in case. Now, this is great because he then laughs because he sees the hilarity of the situation. There's no way that he missed all the impressions and stuff that have been happening on TV.
No, I think it's a great sign. I think that it shows that he's got a sense of humour, so he's happy with people sort of taking the mickey a little bit, and he's self-aware. And I think that, and also, for me, it's a lovely little clip of him it dawning on him, like, what she's done, and when she says, just in case, and his whole face sort of collapses, and he smiles, and it's like, that one little bit there is like, that's Britain at its best. You've got someone with a witty sense of humour. You've got sort of puncturing egos, but also sort of taking it on the chin. And so it was a beautiful little moment.
You're so right. It was a British exchange, quintessentially. Self-deprecation, humour, all rolled into one. Let's go to the Mail on Sunday. And what kind of person wouldn't want to partake in the British institution of queuing, Josh? It goes on.
Well, it does go on, except for MPs who are doing some queue jumping. I mean, that is very un-British. Yeah. So MPs can get up to 4 of their staff on, but that's still excluding a lot of other staff members. Some people who've been complaining, like, I've worked here for 30 years and they can't get to the front. But people, cleaners and cooks, are able to skip the queue. But we British do not like queue jumpers. And certainly when you see people like David Beckham, we were just talking about a friend of ours, Shazia Mirza, who's queuing last night. Sajila's going down a little bit.
I'm going straight after the show.
You know,
brilliant.
And so if there's any MPs watching and you've got +4, can me and my friend...
No, that's the point. There's no... Don't use the +4.
Yeah, no, I'm not against it normally, out of principle, but, you know, my arthritic knees and,
No.
Just been working all
That's
day.
the whole point. That's the endurance. That's what you have to...
No, I'm not a fan of I'm not
both-
the fan of the MPs, like, pushing in. I don't like that.
Could you help me with the Holly and Phil story? Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby, who are alleged to have jumped the queue. ITV have said, well, look, they were filming for their show, for their TV show.
Yeah, and then aren't press getting in there anyway? I thought the press had, like, precedence. If they're filming for the show, that's a different thing.
I feel a bit sorry for them because it's obviously a producer. They hadn't thought it through, and they were like, "Okay, you know what it's like. You're out on a shoot or whatever," and the producer, "Okay, come here, see you at this time." Or whatever. You know, they're puppets. They're like us.
But can I just
Someone's
say-
pulling our strings. Look, you got
Does that
someone in
mean-
your ear
Does that
saying,
mean that someone's got their hand up your derriere?
"Yes," and they are very gentle.
Yeah,
Hello, nice to
they
see
are
you.
led by their producers.
I tell you what, I don't know who the idiot is that's providing your voice, but the face is all right.
People don't listen. But I just...
No, I'm joking.
Well, sorry, what do you...
So I was going to say that there's an add-on to this. So, so there's a group of our friends, Shazia will see, and another comedian friend texted me earlier on. He said, be careful because they've actually shut down the access queue, which is obviously for disabled people, and they've shut it down completely, not to be opened again. And I think that's actually outrageous because then somebody pointed out on Twitter, how about you stop the MPs from, they should use the main one so that at least disabled people who've travelled down from all over the country not being able to get... And I think that's disgraceful. It's really
I would put anyone disabled at the front of the queue.
Absolutely, and it's not like MPs don't have the time. They've only worked a couple of days. In the last 55 days, they've only worked a couple of days.
Yeah.
And then they're going to go off for a few more weeks because of conference season.
Meanwhile,
hear you,
Theresa May queued.
Yeah.
And she is with Philip, her husband, and she's a member of Parliament. And she did the full queue.
She did the full... That's it. There are people...
I've got respect.
Are you a full queue person?
Yeah.
No, that's the new... That's how people are going to be delineated nowadays.
It's the new Brexit.
Are you a pusher or
Brexit
a full,
Remain.
full queue pusher?
There you go. Well, look, we'll find out who falls into that tribe later. Over to the newspaper now, and a market for second-hand wristbands is emerging. Sajila,
So this is amazing. So the queue, this is the headline, the queue, use wristbands to view the Queen lying in state are listed on eBay for hundreds of pounds. So they've got different colours. Dark green apparently was Thursday's colour. There's been a yellow one, and one of them has gone for £2,000.
Bright orange. Bright orange.
eBay. So I'm just saying, guys out there, let's cut out the middleman, right? Come tomorrow, I'll have my wristband, and if you want to buy it for £2,000, just contact me on Twitter.
Is it because you don't want to pay those eBay fees?
I don't want to pay eBay fees.
I hear you.
No.
That's
Nice
right.
little earner. On to the Sun now, and it looks like Harry and Meghan did not get their RSVPs back in time. Josh.
Well, it wasn't that. They were uninvited. There's a big state reception. They're saying this is going to be... It's hosted by King Charles at Buckingham Palace. It's going to have all these VIPs from all over the world. They received an invitation earlier this week, but now it's been taken back because it was an error, because the only royalty that's allowed to turn up is our working royals, which they are not. I feel this is a little bit unfair. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the biggest fan in the world, but at the same time, you're like, they already got the invite.
Correct.
Just let them come along. And also, maybe this is an opportunity for them to be a bit charming and...
Correct.
And be
bridge building.
bridge building, and also promote Britain. I'm sure there are people out there who want to meet Meghan, and there have been people very excited in the queues to meet Meghan. and
Do you
Harry.
trust Meghan to promote Britain?
No, but you see,
Is that entirely wise?
This is what I think. You know, we talked earlier, is Charles jealous? I think perhaps that might be a little bit here about the McGarrys, as I'm going to call them. The McGarrys, he doesn't want to be kind of overshadowed by them. And it could just, like, as you say, just be like a genuine kind of like because he's being advised on protocol and stuff. There's a funeral. He's grieving his mother. There's loads of stuff going on. He's a father, I would imagine, actually does want his son there. Yeah. And someone's saying, no, we can't have that, because there's been that conversation with the uniforms as well. And yet now the father, King Charles, has said he would like his son to wear the uniform. I mean, that's quite right. So I think there's been a bit of confusion. But
Well, he is the king nowadays, so he can sort of go, you know what, he's coming.
Yeah.
And there we go.
Yeah. Well, that I think I've got to say looks like something of an own goal. The next one now from Mail on Sunday sounds like a Proclaimers song, Sajila.
Okay, so Monday is a good day to be laid to rest because the sun is to shine for Queen Elizabeth. The weather forecasters are saying the rain is unlikely to fall during the Monday's funeral, which is actually lovely because I always say if it's like dry on your wedding day, but then they say, isn't rain good luck on your wedding day? That's it. Funeral is a good day.
I'm not down with all the weather stuff, although
Okay.
there have been phenomena of these sort of strange weather phenomena. Have you seen the one? There was a picture of the Queen in a cloud.
Yes.
There was a rainbow which kind of landed seemingly on the
wow.
hearse. So there seems to be something a little bit otherworldly going on, which is kind of interesting. And now good weather on Monday, which is great.
It really does bode well, doesn't it? And although it's a sad occasion, I think that's going to be a theme, Josh, is that a mixture of sadness and joy, because we say goodbye to the Queen, but we reflect on her great positive legacy.
And celebrate her life.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how funerals work,
Yeah,
isn't it?
and maybe she sent good weather so that all her loyal subjects can actually go out and enjoy the funeral. I don't know if that's the right word, to enjoy the funeral.
Well, I've got to be honest, some of the best times I've had have been after funerals. Because everybody gets a bit drunk and just sort of everything gets let go. All that emotion has to be released somehow.
I think
Get any
when you
action,
bury
Josh?
them...
Pick up any chicks at the wake?
Few sisters.
In that rather fetching black suit of yours, you know, they just can't say
This
no.
has seen a lot of action.
Once your shirt's tucked in. How are funerals conducted in your respective cultures and faiths? So, Josh, you are a Jewish man.
I'm a Jewish man.
So, tell me about Jewish funerals.
Well, there's not this kind of idea of afterlife as such. Like, there's no like heaven and hell. Well, hell doesn't really exist in Jewish culture. So actually, there's less focus.
Do you mind if I quickly convert to Judaism, please?
Take you a couple of years, but yeah, you're welcome. So a lot of Judaism as a religion actually focuses on rituals for living a good life now. It's not about sort of do stuff now so you can get this idyllic, heavenly type thing later. It's 7 days you don't shave. You are meant to tear a bit of clothing. You cover all the mirrors in your house. And then, actually, I was at synagogue this morning, and through the next 11 months, the name of the person is remembered during in mourning, and this is like an 11-month thing in total.
Oh, you remember the person every morning?
But they're officially remembered like every week, essentially.
At the
It's such a
service.
help the grieving process. Like,
It's part of it, because it's a long time. It's not, and that's the thing about grieving, and we've talked about this before, but it isn't this kind of delineated set time of it.
yeah, when you get 2 weeks off work, and that's supposed to be like then it's supposed to get back to normal.
No, it's something that takes sometimes years.
Which makes me think that why, when you have these massive big funeral, like, deaths like with Diana and with the Queen, I think all those things that we've pushed down, that's what happens. It comes up to the surface because we are made to kind of grieve as a nation, and so that our own grief suddenly kind of materialises. Because I know I've pushed down lots of, people dying. You sort of keep pushing it down. You've got to carry on. You've got to carry on, and like this kind of almost lets you bring that grief to the surface and acknowledge it.
Yeah, I mean, how are funerals conducted?
Well, I'm an agnostic, but like
in your sort of culture,
I mean,
family.
I call them the professional mourners. I mean, as a joke, but like what happens is they come round to your house and they basically will not leave until you've cried, and they make you repeat the story, like, so, oh, that's really sad. How did your father die? Oh, really? And you get the tea out, you get the samosas out, and you're getting all the food. And so me and my sister, when my father passed, like we'd like, okay, look, because you cannot cry and demand. It's as you know, you just can't. Grief is like a...
I'm a very good actor, I can...
Yeah, but we couldn't. We were just dried up.
Josh
We were just
will cry
like...
for money,
And so when it was like, look, it's your turn. I did it yesterday. You've got to do it. And she said, oh, it's really sorry. And they're not going to leave until you cry. So we want to get rid of them because we just, we're grieving, but we can't cry. So we do this terrible acting, like, and then suddenly it's like, good, kick them out. We can get them out. And then the next lot would come because you constantly are having people coming around, and that's again.
Well, that is a problem sometimes I've found when I've lost a loved one, which is that people that are coming there to sort of like help out, they actually make life worse sometimes because you've always got to look after them and reassure them, make them feel better, even though you're the one that's grieving.
Yeah, same with hospital.
Right, well wishers can be quite counterproductive somehow.
Yeah.
Also, it's about small talk. Like, how do you make that? There's that pressure when you're going to a funeral and the same family that you never know really what to say.
Well, I know, I do, so family members that have lost a loved one and the wake's happening and they're just making endless cups of teas for the group. It's like,
gives you something
down.
to do.
I guess so, but you've just lost your husband or your wife or your sister or your brother. Sit down, let us look after you. And let's hope someone is going to be doing that for Charles.
Yeah. I
in
think
the
he's got
days
many
to come.
people
Actually, he's
doing
got about 100, hasn't he? And rightly so, he is our king. What about London itself, Josh? It's going to be a campsite for a while, isn't it?
Well, people are already camping. Obviously, people are being out in the big queue, Q1, Q2. But also, there is the people are already out camping. They've got their tents, they've got sleeping bags. It's pretty cold. Got down to, I think, 5 degrees last night. So they're out there. Everyone's got their jumpers. They're wrapped up, hopefully, because they want a good spot for the actual procession.
Yeah.
So
I think we've become we used to be a really good camper outers, didn't we, as a nation?
We did.
We've lost the art because we would go out to camp for all sorts of events and things. The Harrods Sale, that doesn't happen anymore.
Correct. Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, yeah. And I think we stopped doing that. Personally, I want to make this somebody described it as a pilgrimage going to pay your respects to the Queen, and I think that's what it is. And although it's only going to be a few seconds, I want that personal kind of one-to-one, and then I think the rest of it I'm happy to watch on TV, which I'm going to be doing with a load of friends on Monday.
Yeah.
We're going to have a big sort of, and have all the things that the Queen loves, like gin and Dubonnet.
Now you're talking.
Hey.
You had me at gin. Hold the Dubonnet. Sunday Telegraph next, and the British forces are carrying some of the burden of the funerals, Sajila.
Yeah, so the headline is British soldiers pulled out of Iraq to carry Queen Elizabeth's coffin. Now, it's quite traditional for the Queen's company holds the role of guarding the monarch's body in death, but there were fears that they wouldn't be able to perform their duties because they've been recently deployed to Iraq. So they've called the troops back, and they will be there. And they've been flown back to the UK to take part in the ceremony. The central role is the Army, Navy, Royal Air Force. And of course, the Queen has been associated with the forces ever since, before she came into, to reign as Queen, because she was, she fought herself, didn't she? Well, she didn't fight, but she was, enrolled. What's the word?
Mechanised corps, was it? Or
Yeah.
something? Or
Exactly right. She learnt to do oil changes on military vehicles.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be right to not have a funeral, of a monarch without having the forces there.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right, and I think it's going to be a very big part of her legacy as well, which is our world-class armed forces.
Yeah.
And, the envy of the world, and rightly so. Let's now head to The Observer, and TV is gearing itself up for the royal funeral, Josh. It's, not going to be a surprise if I mention that we have wall-to-wall coverage here on GB News.
Indeed.
With the best on-air talent you can find.
Yeah, I'm not working that day, surprisingly.
What happened?
Are you?
You've got the best talent that you've
No,
got
I should be
available.
I should be at home watching GB News and watching
I am
the funeral
disappointed to hear that,
with
because I
gin and
think
Dubonnet.
you are very good. You're very good at these things, and I think you
very
should have
kind
been
of you.
covering on
Well,
Monday.
can I be honest with you? It's like getting a place in the England team. The quality is so high.
Are you on the reserve bench?
Obviously, I'll be there. I'll be there, pacing up and down, doing the warm up.
They're not even letting me in the stadium.
We've well, I know. Well, listen, I wouldn't say that. No, we get amazing coverage on Monday.
Well, it's all the major UK channels are going to be
Yeah.
are going to be showing this, obviously, and so that includes us, GB News, apart from one, Channel 5, which are going to be showing the Emoji Movie,
So
which
random.
is it was the Queen's favourite movie.
Oh, was it?
No.
Oh.
So.
Why would I have believed you when you said that? Why did I do that?
I don't know
Why
why.
did I
I
do
don't
that?
know.
Well, it
That's
wouldn't
so easy.
surprise me, because sometimes you find out that the royals are big fans
Yeah.
of really obscure things like
Well, actually,
Mrs. Brown's Boys.
we
In fact, the Queen was a big fan of pointless celebrities and Pointless.
Oh.
Yeah, she would tune into that.
Were you ever on that?
I've done the celebrities.
Oh my God! See, do you see what I mean? Like, GB News, you listening? This is your man here.
I was with Rusty Lee, and we got knocked out.
Rusty Lee.
Question about cookery.
Yes, they've been given the advice. This is it. Do it solemnly, quickly, and shut up. Is how TV is preparing for the royal funeral, and that quote comes from Sky presenter Dermot.
Monahan.
Yeah, Monahan. And that's what he says. It's about letting the pictures do the talking, he said. And as a rule, when you needed to make an intervention, when you do it solemnly and do it quickly and shut up. I got to say, that's not my style. My style is to kind of waffle and then fade out.
Why say in just 2 words when you can use 200?
I'm sorry, faded out.
Faded out.
I think you're far too hard on yourself.
Monahan is 64 years old? That can't be right.
What a
That's gotta be
silver fox.
That's got to be a misprint.
What a silver fox. Yeah, great broadcaster, very nice man.
Am I thinking of the right one?
So there you
It's
go.
not
Is he
the
coming
Irish-
over to GB News, is he?
Yeah, we're
Is Dermot Menahan the one who
trying
does
poaching him.
sort out the
X Factor?
contract. Money's a sticking point, but
He'll
see
pay
what
us
happens.
something.
Exactly right. Look, we're always looking for the best talent here at GB News, but once again, do tune in on Monday because the coverage will be respectful and there will be pomp and ceremony and some of the most experienced broadcasters in this country here on air for GB News, including, of course, Alistair Stewart. So, look, let's have a look now at the practicalities of the funeral in the Observer, Sajila.
Okay. Is it the Observer?
The businesses, yes. The business. Then.
Businesses
Well, yeah, so
opening
basically
and shutting.
they're closing pretty much everything, it looks like, in the country, cinemas and whatnot, except for pubs. That's the gist of the... everything is closed. But also Waitrose is going to be open a little bit because that's, of course, what the Queen would have wanted. There'll be a Waitrose, bit of class. But pretty much everything is going to be closed. If you are a Republican, you can go to the gym or you can go to Hollywood Bowl. After 1:30. Those are your options. If you need entertainment if you don't want to celebrate the Queen's life or commiserate for her passing, then that's what you should do. Go to the gym, go to 10-pin bowling.
It's actually, I think it's a lot more closure than Christmas Day.
I would say on a similar...
Yeah, it seems-
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Will convenience stores stay open? I would have thought...
No, they're
will.
saying a lot
the
of
locals,
few of them will open
local
after
petrol
5 o'clock.
stations will be open.
Yeah, after 5.
So, in fact, that would be stricter than Christmas.
After 5.
Because on Christmas Day, convenience
Yeah.
stores can still open.
Yeah. But the pubs are always open Christmas Day. And the pubs, I think, is really important because because if firstly they're dying out and, it's become less of a cultural thing, but it used to be a very community-based thing where you do celebrate funerals, and what it's actually...
Hopefully they've got a bit of bunting
up.
up. You allowed bunting in a funeral? I don't know.
I wouldn't say
They've got
so.
some bunting left, no. Celebration. Well,
No.
it's a weird mixture of the funeral thing, isn't it?
But as you mentioned earlier, it is a strangely celebratory atmosphere at funerals. It's always bittersweet, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you should celebrate someone's life as well as, I don't think it has to be all doom and gloom. It has to be some sort of balance of, when I think afterwards is when you celebrate.
Do you also think that it will be a celebration of Britain, modern Britain? If you look at that queue, the sort of diverse audience that have appeared queued up to visit the Queen.
One more to join tonight.
And more to join tonight, right? And it is a snapshot of modern Britain, isn't it?
It is,
Now,
it
do you
is.
think maybe the funeral and the huge public engagement with it will bring us together? Do you think, Sajila?
I think it has been. I know maybe I'm cynical because I'm Pollyanna, so I always think things are positive.
You're polyamorous.
Huh?
What?
Ooh,
Yeah, you'll
stop.
find out later.
But
Once she's got out of the queue.
got out the queue. I think that it has been bringing people together. I think there has been something, even if you are not a royal fan, and I am, and I know that other people aren't. A lot of my comedian friends are really surprised that I am, and I think that it's brought us all together in I think we can all agree that the Queen was once in a lifetime amazing person, and she did someone committed to her duty, and I know it's been said 1,000 times before, but it really can't be said enough. There will never be anyone like her in our lifetime. Globally, forget that. And so it is representing everything that is wonderful about British people. We're all coming together. It's become very community-based. I like that. I like the line. The line it actually should be, that's quite spectacular because it encompasses everybody.
See it from space.
Yeah. Can you really?
Yeah.
I'll get it.
In many ways, in spite of...
Is it really true?
Yeah.
Oh,
In spite of the pomp and ceremony and the wonderful, traditions that we've got in this country, actually, it will be that queue that will be the most resonant image, perhaps, of the last few days. People power and an expression of love and affection for the Queen.
And absolutely, and goes very much against narrative. We're going to be doing a story in a bit on the New York Times, but what they're trying to sell, this divided nation, I'd say, no, that's proof that people are across all denominations and faiths and ethnicities celebrating the Queen's life.
And I think that the funeral might have echoes of the Jubilee, because I was surprised, Josh, by the amount of public engagement with the Jubilee. I thought it would have been limited to royal fans, but it felt like huge numbers of people got involved.
No, it's lovely.
Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Jubilee.
It was really
And that was only
Street
only a
parties
few
and-
months ago. Street parties, it felt quite... it took me back to 1977.
It's funny because we're such a cynical nation in so many ways, but also we can really come out and represent when we need to.
Yeah.
When the emotion is there.
I think that's exactly right. And let's hope that glue continues to keep us close together. Onto the Mail on Sunday. And what should we do with that problematic fourth plinth in Trafalgar Square?
Well, this is a great idea, but I don't believe it's a new idea. They're saying now the fourth plinth, Trafalgar Square, they should be doing a statue of the Queen on a horse, because it's especially reserved for someone with a horse. But actually, it was proposed by, you remember Ken Livingstone? He's been on here a few times.
Of course.
He said in 2013, he said the understanding is that plinth, because that plinth has been used for various bits of art over the last 20 years, whatever, they said actually there's a sort of understanding that it's meant to be eventually for the Queen. I think it's a great idea. The only thing that because there's only actually one statue at the moment of the Queen anywhere, one life-size statue, which is in Windsor Great Park. So this is a really good idea, although some people are saying that maybe that's not respectful enough, it's not visible enough. I mean, I think Trafalgar Square is pretty visible, but they're also saying maybe someone's proposing MPs a statue near Westminster. Do them both.
Yeah.
Do them
Let's have
both.
two statues.
Because they didn't get it right, Josh, with Diana's fountain, did they?
I think they did.
Yeah, really?
Fountain's great.
it.
I was just near there today with the kids.
You think?
Yeah.
When it was
there
first
as well.
beautiful.
When it was first built, they had problems with the
Well,
plumbing.
no, but then they sorted that out.
People
and
were
it's really beautiful.
I think the boys at the time, William and Harry, were quite insulted by it, weren't they?
No, I don't think so. I don't know. I think
So
it's
you're
still
having the
stands.
fountain.
Yeah,
I love the fountain.
I like
Really?
the fountain. My son's a lot of memories there when he was. I love
right?
the fountain. Yeah, no, definitely love the
So
fountain.
that's good. So something on a grander scale.
And
for
grander
the Queen.
scale, but it's interesting because I was thinking about this. Her image, the Queen, her image. I know we're going to do like a statue, but it has. I mean, it's iconic, like nobody else in history.
Yeah.
And has made so much money for this, for this country. So when we talk about the royal family, basically, no, they're not fit for purpose. They're using up all this money, blah blah blah. They actually bring a lot of capital just from the Queen's face alone. She's on the capital. She's literally on the capital.
Can I ask you a story which dovetails with this, Sajila Kershi, which is in the Express, Sunday Express, Honour Our Queen with ER Day. Okay, and this is the idea of having a dedicated day once a year, and it's MPs from across the party divide want the government to name a day when the country will come together each year to celebrate her reign. I don't know whether they're thinking of a bank holiday, but just ER Day, notwithstanding whether it's a bank holiday or not. Does she get her own day?
I'd be happy with that, yeah. Does that mean we get that day off?
I don't know. I think that it's unlikely it would be a bank holiday because we've got quite a few already.
This one's costing $2 billion.
Yeah, there are big economic implications. But what do you think, Josh? Is it a special day where we go, today's ER Day?
Well, no,
how you can just say it's ER Day and then it doesn't make any tangible difference to people's day-to-day lives.
Well, I suppose
you've got to also think
they could declare it a thing, and it means that networks like GBNews will acknowledge it when it comes round. Perhaps a few words in Parliament, just something a bit more than just...
So just on the anniversary of her death?
Something a bit more than just the anniversary, that a day that, it might be her... We haven't specified what the day would be, the date of her birth, the date of her death. But do you think she gets a day?
It's just, again, it comes down to if we're talking bank holiday, then I'd have to say no, because I think there's larger implications there. But of course, celebrating her, life, she's been part of this nation now for everybody that we know's life, pretty much. And of course, that needs to be continued.
But then you're not stuck with every former monarch then gets a day. Get a bit busy,
but we've got a long time to wait for the next one, so let somebody else make that decision.
Well, I think maybe I would suggest that the Queen is so special that she would merit it. There you go. We'll break the rules for that remarkable lady. Let's get to some other stories that are in the papers, so we'll come back to the Queen shortly. But let's talk about tax.
Dirty cash, I want you. Dirty cash, I need you. So, we're going to go to...
Beautiful voice you have.
So we're going to go to Kwasi Kwarteng in the Times.
New Chancellor.
He's bending rules for 30 billion tax cuts is the headline. And there are concerns that the energy crisis and slowdown in the economy will put the headroom under significant strain in terms of, he's going to be breaking the fiscal rules, which I don't actually know what they are, but the rules, do you know the rules?
The rule is that your debt falls as a proportion of national income within the same parliament. So they're now going to be extending that debt into the next Parliament.
Into the next Parliament. So the tax cuts are going to come on top of the government's amended energy price cap. Officials are saying that the household part of the package, which will limit increases in typical energy bills to 2,500, which we discussed many times on the show before, is quite straightforward. But for domestic energy prices, but it's the business package that's going to be the issue. And number 10 is basically delaying until November, and they've said that payments will be backdated if need be. Now, the support package is really important, and we've been waiting for this. You know, we obviously are coming to October, which is always supposed to be the deadline of, you know, when things were going to change. And I know we could have predicted what was going to happen, but we've been delaying. We had that long, you know, run up to the election between Truss and Sunak, and now it's really time to kind of buckle down and kind of really sort this country out.
And the way they're going to do that is by cutting corporation tax and by also abolishing the cap on bankers' bonuses. Now, I'm going to be seen as a sort of, you lefty moaning. Look, I can see the argument that we want to attract business to this country, that we want to attract the best, if city people will want to move here because they'll be paying less tax. I get that. And the idea of trickle-down economics. There's a lot of sort of evidence, though, that trickle-down economics doesn't actually work to that level. So what we're really just going to be having is the rich get richer. And guess what? The rich are pretty rich already. So
that's how they stay.
I think you raise valid concerns. It's certainly a gamble, isn't it? I mean, the last financial crisis we had in 2008, 2009, the global downturn, the credit crunch, the government went for austerity, didn't they? The coalition government, which meant that they cut expenditure, which many people think impacted public services.
Well, it did.
But also they take the view that perhaps it impacted the economy too, because when there's less state investment, then it can affect the amount of money in people's pockets and the amount of economic activity that happens. So I think the thinking this time round is to go the other way. You don't have austerity. You burn through the national debt. You tackle that deficit with growth. So you allow borrowing to continue because they'll have to borrow to deliver these tax cuts.
Well, it's going to be 30 billion for this.
Right. But the idea is that you stoke the fires of the economy with massive GDP, great economic output, rather than recession.
But they're giving it to bankers is the point.
Well, I think it's the overall picture, as you say. I mean, it's not a good look, I think, giving it to bankers. But the point is just, as you say, to attract investment and to encourage everybody, including wealthy people, to spend their money rather than save it. I mean, if it leads to higher GDP, if it leads to growth, surely it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, but then they come over to this country, they earn the money, they don't pay the tax, and then they go back to their own countries or whatever. But again, the argument goes down to
whether... But surely the idea, if taxes are good, that means they stay here.
Well, they stay here until they decide to not stay here, or they...
But if it's
or they don't pay the tax, and then they do their little accountancy dodginess, and they take the money off. And
but what about, listen...
Does that money actually stay here in this country? Does that money go to British people eventually?
I do hear you, and I think it's the way you frame it is indefensible. I'm not going to take a bullet for the bankers, definitely not. But what about that curiosity that when corporation tax is reduced, the tax take is actually higher? So a lot of the way that tax works can be quite counterintuitive, can't it? I mean, we all are pursuing the same goal, which is to get that debt down and tackle the cost of living. I mean, Truss is rolling the dice. I mean, if it doesn't work out within 2 years, she's toast at the next election, isn't she? Yeah,
so that's why. And she's rolling the dice with our children's futures to keep herself ultimately in power. Look, I want it to work. I want everybody to get more money. I prefer the people who've got that money are people who need it more. But we'll see what's going to happen. I mean, look, if this works, great. I'll be the first person to go, brilliant, good job, skills, you did it.
But I think Josh raises a good point, which is the optics of it aren't great.
No, they're not.
And therefore it's going to be a hard sell for Liz Truss to the British people.
It's going to be a hard sell because people aren't caring about all of the kind of backstory you just gave or how it's going to work out. They just want to pay their bills now. They want to get food on the table today, and it's dire. So those people, it's not helping. And again, this always happens. It's always, as you say, the most marginalised that have to pay for this experiment, effectively.
I mean, one final point on it. You know, it's not only the domain of the Tories. So it was Labour under Tony Blair and Chancellor Gordon Brown who really facilitated massive growth in the City of London. They took the top rate of income tax from 50 to 40%. And they were very city-friendly because they could see how much national income was being produced from just the square mile.
But unfortunately, by not investing that money in industry and the deficiency that went into there meant that when we did have everything turning to rubbish, which as they went out of power, suddenly we didn't have the backing of all these other.
Well, I do agree, but I mean, we did. You know, all those hospitals and schools were paid for by
but all our eggs were in one basket.
Yeah,
and
that's a very full point. Plus, our economy reliant on consumption.
Yeah, and it's just how much can that turn over on itself? There is an interesting thing. One thing that he might be announcing, people are hoping, is to make the UK's tax regime more generous for self-employed people because, of course, we are self-employed during the whole lockdown thing. We don't get paid holidays and you don't get the same benefits working for a big company. So they're talking about maybe, and also that might help people start their own businesses. Yeah. So anyway, the point I'm trying to say is it's a great time that I went on a payroll.
I think it is. Josh, is that suit tax deductible?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I bought it 15 years ago, but that receipt, I'm just changing. Yeah, tax deductible. I bought it last year. There you go.
Let's talk, shall we, Josh, about Joe Biden, and he's getting firm with Putin. This in the Sunday Express.
Yeah, so he's been interviewed. The headline is, Biden issues one-word warning to Putin as fears soar over nuclear weapon launch, of course, because what's happening now is that as Russia's position looks more precarious in Ukraine, and the Ukrainians are doing amazing things over there, taking back control of their country. It's not over yet, but it's looking certainly more tenuous for Putin. But this is what everybody says, and certainly a lot of apologists will say this for Putin. Say, oh, don't push him into a corner, rats, and they're going to bite their way out, and i.e. use nuclear weapons, which has been sort of threatened by certain Russian people on the news and whatnot. So Biden was asked, you know, what would you say to Putin and what would you do? And Biden said, don't. So I feel like his auto cue might have stopped for a second there. He'll say, you'll change the face of war unlike anything since World War II. And then he said, he was asked, what would you do? And he said, look, I'm not going to tell you, mate, which was, probably because he doesn't know, he's waiting for someone to type it in. But of course, it's a concern. People would be, certainly if Putin's health is like people say.
But then if he presses the nuclear button, all hell will break loose.
You say that, but really, can we trust on the West to... What would people want from that? We don't want Russia to be part of it.
Well, I guess it would be airstrikes, wouldn't it? It'd be airstrikes over
hopefully it won't go that far.
Potentially Russia. Let's hope not. I mean, it's been framed as the forever war by some. But do you think we've turned a corner?
Oh, I don't know. This is like, the big boys in power with their nuclear toys, really. Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to pull mine out. I'm going to pull mine. So, yeah,
Josh, what do you think? Done by Christmas? Can we dream?
We can dream. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case. I have actually been following this quite closely online, and which is the best place to get all of your information on Twitter.
Well, it's all true, luckily.
Yes, few. But they have done amazing things, and it seems like they've cut off Russia from down south. So if they've cut the supply lines, it's certainly Russia's in a much more precarious position in terms of... And also, I read somewhere that I think 1 in 20 of their prisoners are now fighting on the front line of Russian prisoners. That was a deal. So we're not talking trained soldiers here. And Putin's in a very precarious position because he's got this 25% nationalist core followers who are very pro-Russia, pro-war. And they're actually starting to turn on Putin a little bit. Most people in Russia, this is what I read, about 50% of Russians don't really care. They just want to get on with their life like like human beings are, really. But this core, once Putin loses that strongman persona, then they're already starting to speak against him. And that's, I think, where his danger is. And they're sort of blaming Russia. They're blaming some of the generals, and that really goes up to Putin.
Let's power through a few more stories if we can. Let's go now to big oil, which has been a bit slippery, Sajila, The Observer.
Observer. What is it? Oh, there's this one. It's The Guardian, isn't it? No, The Guardian.
on Sunday's The Observer.
Okay, we've been given the wrong information. This is what happens. The papers come in.
Oh, I think
and we're
what
hot off
happens
the
is
press.
on a Saturday it comes in as The Guardian.
Oh,
and then
okay.
it rebadged as Observer.
It's hot off the press, guys.
It's their
at
bag,
home.
not yours.
Criticism intensifies after Big Oil admits gaslighting public over green aims. So, big oil companies, been investigated and
Pretending to be green.
Pretending to be green. Kelsa-Prees, like the big oil companies, are basically not actually really invested in going...
What?
I know. I'm outraged of Reigate. But yeah, they're not doing that. And so I love, there's a quote here. So this is part of a congressional hearing held in Washington, D.C., and it's an investigation into the role of fossil fuels that are driving the climate crisis. Now, this is great. So this Varshini Prakash, Executive Director of Sunrise, says, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they wish bed bugs on you. And the reason why she says that is because they admitted, the oil industry, they admitted gaslighting the public. Is that right?
Well, no, they didn't admit. They found all these documents have been submitted to the committee, and one of them says exactly, we wish bed bugs on
bed bugs. Yeah, we even wished critical activists to be infested by bed bugs. That's a terrible. That sounds like my grandmother. She's just make up like swear words, you know. I infest you with bed
these
bugs.
documents would be called explosive, and it's so here the co-chair of the committee says they show a culture of intense disrespect to climate activists, and I think we're all guilty of that.
Yeah.
Surely. I mean, I believe in global warming and whatnot, but I'm also like, God, these guys could be really annoying.
Yeah.
The extinction event and all that lot.
Yeah, still don't like those traffic jams. Let's have a look at the New York Times in the Mail on Sunday, and their attacks on the monarchy might be motivated from a surprising source.
Yes, essentially they want to appeal to China. Is really this is quite a big article. It goes into. I mean, the New York Times has just been slamming into the UK since before the Queen's death. But I mean, some of the stuff they've come out with has just been absolutely ridiculous, incredibly disrespectful. The way that they're sort of talking about her, they refer to her as the old grey lady, and
that's horrible.
And yeah, it's just nasty and just not true. And but what this article, and this I have to say is conjecture. It's total. There's no proof of this, but it's conjecture that I'll happily go along with, because what it's saying is that they're trying to increase their online subscription, and a lot of that could hopefully come through China, because if anybody wants to see the UK getting bashed a bit, is China. They also say they wouldn't mind also trying to appeal to parts of the left in this country who would also subscribe to the New York Times because they want to see the UK being trashed. So I'm sure there's elements of truth to both of those things, but I don't like the UK being trashed. You know what it is? If you're British, we could do it. Like I don't mind the British people trashing Brit, but don't come over here.
Come here
and start talking about
not America with all of their problems.
Hypocrisy. I know,
all of
ridiculous.
their divisions.
I love how we just all went like Mitchell Brothers then, like, no, just leave it out. I thought it was more to do with clickbait, actually, to kind of get, because everyone's been talking about it on Twitter, so it's kind of done the job. Like, everyone's trying to kind of, get to...
Yeah, but it's a subscription, isn't it? So anyway, so that
you have to get that thing...
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the Phantom of the Opera. It's going to be a ghost in New York, isn't it?
Ooh. Inside my mind. Oh, I love the Phantom of the Opera. So the Phantom of the Opera to close on Broadway in 2023 after 35 years. I had no idea it's been going for that long. So it's the longest running show. It's coming to a close next year. And so do you know how many... So the original cast, you will remember... those of a certain age, it was Sarah Brightman, who was then his wife.
Lloyd Webber's wife.
Wife. So there was a bit of nepotism going on there. And Michael Crawford, Betty, or something like that, was it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep, some mothers do have them.
Some of us do have them, yeah.
Who turned out to be an incredible West End actor.
He was amazing as the Phantom in that. And there have been a lot, over those 35 years, there have been 16 Phantoms and 5 understudies who've played the Phantom, and 36 women have played, actors have played Christine.
Sajila's been on Google, I think.
I've been on the Google page.
Best musical ever?
Huh?
Best musical ever for you?
Because I was just... it's up there. I don't know if it's the best.
What's your favourite?
I did like Jamie recently. I think that's been great. And my friend Annabelle Johns is in a show called Rehab Rehab the musical.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing as well. That's going to be the next Jamie, I reckon.
How about you? Are you a musicals fan? Did they divide opinion, musicals?
No, I am not. I've been to a few musicals. Maybe West Side Story? Something like
I think that was my nomination.
Yeah.
Very funny lyrics, witty lyrics from Stephen Sondheim. And I think there's a very good musical movie called Everyone Says I Love You, which is a Woody Allen film. And that's a classic. But all the actors are
Can you sing,
they're not
Mark?
trained in... Well, no, I can't sing. I can't carry a tune.
Yes.
OK, let's keep the last few viewers we've got, shall we? And move on to The Independent on Sunday and unrest in Iran, Josh.
Yes, so a woman, Mahsa Amini, I believe she's of Kurdish descent, was in Tehran seeing family and was then taken off the streets by the morality police and is now dead. They're saying it's possibly a heart attack, but this has inspired some protests across Iran, and people are standing up and saying that this is wrong, including a famous footballer called Ali Karimi, and even their former president. And, you know, it's ridiculous.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. It's
You know, and it's really angry. What do they call not the mortality piece,
Morality.
Morality. Can't say the word. Morality police. It's disgusting. They can literally see you in the street, and if they don't like what you're wearing, what you're doing, and they basically picked up Maha Amini in the street and said they were going to take her for retraining, like she's some kind of robot to be programmed. And then, of course, you know, her family never saw her again. And it's all to do with the hijab, the headscarf. Like back in 2017, they had like dozens of women who took off their scarf as a protest. And, you know, because of that protest, they've really, really tightened up and clamped down. And it's disgusting because it's the worst women's rights.
Now America's going to chuck billions at Iran to stop to allegedly try and stop their nuclear program.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't believe that actually will work at all. And Iran ain't a good country.
No.
Say they hang
Do you
homosexuals.
think, I know you're not the biggest fan of Trump, but do you think his tough love approach to Iran was better?
Yeah, frankly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying just because I'm not a fan of Trump, I don't think that he did everything wrong. There were certain things that I think, and I don't believe Iran can be trusted.
Yeah.
They're a terrorist state. They're sowing discord across the Middle East and further abroad than that.
Yeah, not good. Look, let's talk about good news from The Observer. Unless you've got haemophobia, then it's very bad news, Josh.
Yeah, this is actually really, this is great. A British Muslim charity broke the world record for most blood donations in a day. The event was led by Who Is Hussein. It's a social justice charity based in the UK. They did it all across the world. They had 37,000 people donating blood, which is up from, I think, the previous world record, which is 34,000. And what a brilliant thing. And they're saying that could save up to 110,000 people with that blood.
Have you given blood?
I have. You know what? I've never given blood. And reading this, I really thought, you know what? I want to do it.
Yeah, I've given blood. And I've got great news for you, which is that it's good for your health to give blood.
OK.
So it's actually an act of self-interest.
Losing weight, losing a pint of blood.
Well, that's always good for the I mean, obviously, anything medical... Talk to your GP, but, you know, the reason why we're encouraged to give blood is because not only is it safe, but it's arguably good for you, especially blokes, because a lot of men have too much iron in their blood, and there's really no way
That was to make sure...
Who knows? But too much iron is actually a little toxic for the body, and the only practical way of getting men's iron down is to give blood. So,
so you weren't doing it for sort of altruistic reasons?
Not really,
you were just
not
like,
really, yeah.
Get this iron out
It can
of
be
me.
quite. I know a particular friend who was sort of had quite stubbornly high iron and then just gives blood and it fixes the problem. So, but there you go.
Else. What type are you?
O+.
I'm B positive.
But it also sounds like they're...
So you can give to me, and I'm low in iron. That's why I can't, because I try to donate blood.
Sounds like you're
and then I'll
passing
do
the
iron.
problem on.
Huh?
Well, should we set a little
Yeah,
drip
because
up between the two
but
of you?
he's got too much iron. I've got
The only thing is, can I apologise? I'm rocking a touch of the monkeypox at the moment.
Yeah.
So
also,
keep it to
all that
yourself.
vodka in your blood at the moment wouldn't be
as
good.
you know, when I'm not at GBNews, I spend a lot of time in saunas, in company, because I'm very sociable. And by the way, the only reason I go to those saunas is to get stories for the show.
Yeah.
You've got to have something to talk about.
Get that gossip.
No way. Can I thank you both for tonight? It's been a real privilege, hasn't it, to be on air with headliners.
It really has.
In the context of this very sad national story. And I've got to say that you have both handled it tonally wonderfully. We've tried to have a bit of fun, but also, I think, given the Queen due respect. So
Yeah.
great job to both of you.
Queen did have a good sense of humour, so I think we've got to remember that.
Too right, 100%. Amen to that. So the brilliant Josh and Sajila will, of course, return shortly. They are legends of headliners. And thank you to all of you for your company over the last couple of nights. I'm back on Friday with Mark Dolan tonight. Of course, there'll be an acknowledgement of our great Queen, but by Friday, it will be time to talk about the big issues that matter to you, predominantly the cost of living crisis. That's going to be my priority, so we'll get to all of that. And don't forget that Headliners returns on Thursday. No, Tuesday. Tuesday at 11. So we'll be back. Thanks for your company and take care.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Bev, for that. As you can see, we're continuing with our coverage from events in